Welcome to Foundry and Blade Runner. This will be a quick overview of the Foundry system, which is the software I am using to host this game. When you first go to the web address, you are greeted by a login page. This login page has a little bit of information on it, but mostly there's this little drop-down box for join game session. If you find your name, just click your name. There is no password, and pick join game session. This will open up the main Foundry window. So there are kind of three main pieces of this window. On the left, in this area here, is kind of our controls. The big chunk in the middle is called the canvas, and that's where you control your token, move around, see things, and all that fun stuff. On the right-hand side is a number of tabs which have different functions, which I'll get into in a little bit. Some of these items that you are seeing are little applications or little utilities that I have added to the game, which will help you out, and I'll go into that in a little while. So for now, let's take a quick look at what's going on the left-hand side here. So you have a number of different buttons here. Up on the left, you have token controls, you have measurement controls, drawing tools, and journal notes. Most of the time, you'll be sitting using token controls. That gives you, there's a little fly out help on the buttons if you just kind of hover over them. So you get the select token, you can target, you can measure distance, you can toggle always HB dialog, which is that little thing in the center of the screen. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to use it, so you can kind of hide that. And then Find My Token will take and actually center the screen on your token. Measurement tools will give you can draw and do area of effect things, which really doesn't have much effect in this particular game, so we can ignore that. Drawing tools, you can scribble on the screen if you like, create notes, do other things. Depends on what you want to do. And then you can pick stuff, you can delete stuff. Journal notes, you can see notes on the screen. You can create a map note. You'll be able to create notes, which you can do other things. This may come in handy as the game progresses. Most of the time, you're going to be either selecting a token or targeting. To target a token, you can go to a little bullseye thing and pick on another token, and then you get those little green arrowy things. You can select multiple tokens if you just click and drag, and if you click and drag somewhere in empty space, you unselect tokens. If you can also take and hover over a token and hit the T button, and then you can take and if you hit Shift T, you can select multiple different tokens. So there's different ways to select things. So, journal notes, you also have simple calendar. You can turn the simple calendar off and on, or if you turn the calendar off, you can bring it back. So this is the main canvas, and this is where I'll display maps, information, and anything else that might be relevant to the game. You can see the names of other player tokens. I gotta fix this one. But if you double click on your token, you can take and open up your character sheet. Down here is another small utility, which gives you just a quick overview of your character. Red is health, blue is resolve. We'll get into that later. And if you click on your character once, it will drag the screen and center yourself on the character. So if you ever get lost in the screen, you can always center back to yourself by just clicking on that little guy. If you double click on it, it pulls up your character. So when you are in the screen, there's different ways to interact with the screen. You can move the screen if you hold the right mouse button down, and you just kind of move your cursor around. You can move the screen. The scroll bar will scroll in and out. If you're on your character and you click Shift, you can rotate your icon. That's more just for fun rather than anything else. So now over here on the right side, we have some other things. We have this little walkie-talkie looking thing is the chat window. if you come down here, you can type stuff and say, "Hi, I am able." Now it'll pop to whoever said that, kind of bubble it out over the character, but also put it into here. When you make skill rolls and things happen too, they actually, I'm just going to throw this in there quick, but you can see the results of anything that happens shows up in that particular window too. So this is kind of, end up being a history of the session, and any of the rolls or anything that's gone through the Foundry stuff. So if you ever get into a point where words stop working and you end up fighting things, this is the encounter. Another quick little tip is you can pop out any of these by right-clicking on them, and they'll come out onto the screen. This is handy because sometimes you want to see the combat tracker and the chat at the same time, so you can take and pop out the combat encounter. Actors, you are only able to see yourself at the moment, but if there's anything else that you are able to control, such as a vehicle or an NPC or anything like that, that will show up here. The fourth tab, the little briefcase, are items. Items currently consist of some critical injury tables, specialties, which are things that improve your character. And then there are items, which are weapons, pharmaceuticals like medicines, explosives, protective gear, synthetic augmentations. You can replace a leg, eyes, ears, etc., etc. Those all live in this area. If you want to know what it does, you just right-click on it, and it pops out a little window. You can see there's like features. Features is kind of like some basic information about it. Actions, if there's an action involved with it, it will list it there. You can add an action to it. The next one, which looks like an open book, is the journal. Journal is where information is stored. So right now there is a little welcome thing, which kind of gives you, which you can read through and tells you how to go find stuff. But basically what you're looking at is here is, this is the game manual currently. And if you open up any of this stuff, you can see it opens up this journal page, and there's a number of little sections that you can take and read through. And it gives you information on both the background of the world that we're in, as well as chapter 2 tells you how to build your Blade Runner, build your character. Skills and specialties tells you the skills that you use from day to day to do stuff, rolling the dice, just the game mechanics specifically related to your character. Combat and chases is how to run a combat or how to be involved in a combat. And then 5, 6, 7, and 8. 5 and 6 are kind of more background. So this is 5 is a overview of Los Angeles in 2037, which is where you are now. Powers that be are kind of the special interests and groups that you might be interested in taking a look at. Then working the case is kind of a overview of kind of the mechanically how the case unfolds and how you can take and approach the case and actually work on stuff. This also gives you an idea of some resources that you can leverage, whether it be like a corporate resource or informants or anything like that. And then the final section is tools of the trade, which is all those items and things that you can add to your character. And this just has a whole bunch of stuff in here that you can take a look at and buy and purchase and put on your character. The game system manual is specific. This is kind of how Foundry works in the Blade Runner system. The next tab is rollable tables. If there's any tables that you are capable of rolling on, those will show up there. It's currently blank. I'll probably be filling those in with a couple things as we go. Card stacks is you can draw cards to do certain things, and I'll populate that as we go. The card stacks that you are going to see are going to be primarily chase cards, and which is an interesting mechanic, which we'll get into later. Music, if there's background music and stuff, you can turn that down. You can play with the audio controls, interface controls, so you can turn on and off music as you want. Compendium packs is kind of stuff that you're not going to see. That's kind of like how I build the game and core information that I can bring in and out of the game. And then this is some settings. If you want to change settings of anything that's working on there, you can open up the settings. If you have questions on that, let me know and we can work on that. So the other thing that I want to show you is when you have your character selected, or you are in your character, you will notice there is this thing up here which has your name on it. It has stats, skills. If you have any inventory that has an action involved with it, that will do there. And this is a way to take and make rolls directly from the screen without having to actually access your character. So if you need to make a strength roll, you can just come up here, click strength, and roll. If you wanted to make a skill roll, you can come up here and you can make a skill roll. And so that is the nickel tour of Foundry and the interface. More to come and further recording.